One of the biggest questions from a physicist's perspective is why the universe began in such a highly ordered state. Many physicists say this is the biggest question in physics because the universe tends to disorder. That's the way it works. Everything gets more and more disordered. But so the Big Bang was a uniquely highly ordered, bizarrely, very strangely highly ordered thing. The measure of disorder is a measure of the probability that you will spontaneously create it. So if you're very ordered, it's very unlikely you'll create it. If you're less ordered, it gets more and more and more likely you'll do it. And that's why things get more disordered. So the universe today is less ordered than it was then. So it's far more likely that it would fluctuate into existence now than it would fluctuate into existence then. Because it's less ordered now, so it's more likely. One of the biggest...
Another one about that video with Brian Cox answering a question, I guess, around the universe evolution, or what scientists think they know about it, and the notion of chaos. And as I meant, actually that is the first quote on my book, as it became the first quote that I came up with as far as decent awareness of what's going on in the world and in the universe, which is what rules everything as far as phenomena is ordered chaos. Everything is ordered chaos. And then it suddenly made more sense and got confirmed when I practiced Buddhism at a deeper level, especially reaching deep concentration. And I will put it quick there, as I made the comment on that YouTube video that the ultimate truth, or nirvana, is actually what transcends all that and reaches the state where there is no more chaos, as everything becomes stable, as it is defined also where nothing vibrates anymore, compared to the fact that, as we talked about, what's the universe made of, everything and every phenomena is all vibration. Different frequencies, different ways the energy waves interact with each other or are created, but everything is vibration, right? Everything is waves, just as Nikola Tesla stated. So nirvana, enlightenment, is when you have managed to transcend all that. And that's basically what I mean as the last quote on my book, what black holes are about. When nothing vibrates anymore and it becomes very, very stable. And that's why it's a black hole for people, and they don't really know what's going on, even though, of course, again, they speak a lot like they have an idea what a black hole is about, but of course it's just beyond. Anyway, my comment actually on this video was as micro as macro, which is a famous quote also, just like the old civilization knew in different places. That I heard that one a lot when I was in Peru, and about the Incas, who also knew, of course, a lot about a science that has been lost, I guess, so far, just like the old Egyptian civilizations, and when they managed to build those things that still baffles, again, scientists. But anyway, that is to say that what rules the universe works at every scale, as I have said or written before. So from micro to macro scales, everything follows the same principle in the universe, and that is this ordered chaos as far as existence of any phenomenon. And here it says that's why that goes with what's happening with the humans and the society. As there are mostly ignorant humans versus intelligent, wise ones, the society becomes more and more chaotic as everybody is really experiencing more and more, as predicted. As I meant, despite all those good, optimistic people who like to tell me, but more and more people are awakening. Yes, but again, it's simple math and probability and statistics. You have a human population that's increasing exponentially, and yes, more and more people are awakening because there's more and more people on Earth, but still, as far and as long as the ratio keeps being the same, well, that ratio is still that the greatest majority belong to the ignorant side and not the wise one, not the awakened one. So you still have a hugely more increase of ignorance around rather than awakening. So that's why I write, the society becomes more and more chaotic, exponentially indeed, as more and more complicated, while wisdom teaches and goes with simplicity. And all that follows the Buddhist principles as we know them. So, ordered chaos exactly is basically the rule, so that there is evolution. Again, if things were perfect, there wouldn't be an evolution. And it implies, they like to imply that they still like to stick to the theory of the Big Bang. And so he says that at the beginning it was very, very ordered, and it becomes more and more disordered. And the disorder increases more and more. Again, the thing with those scientists and the very narrow mind and very limited brain capacity, as limited, they always like to have limits. They like to have a beginning and an end, or boundaries that they can pinpoint somewhat. And that's always a problem. So they always have a very, they like to, talk about or mention, of course, as part of mathematics, infinity, and there is a symbol, right, the 8 figure for infinity. Yet you can see that the mind, the narrow minds, have really a very hard time to grasp that notion of infinity, and no beginning and no end, and also in space and time, no boundaries. So in one way, there is ordered chaos, yes, and that's what it is. Any creation, because in the Buddhist principle, we have what we call dependent origination. And dependent origination, as the word means, it originates from ignorance. And ignorance is the source of creation, of consciousness that creates things. But because it's from ignorance, it's not perfect. So anything that exists, any phenomena in the universe, is far from perfection, not perfect. But then it follows some rules, the universal laws and the laws of nature, certain laws of physics, you can say. So any phenomena that exists will have an evolution, but it's based on ignorance and ignorant consciousness, which means imperfect. So it will be chaotic and constantly evolving, trying to adapt, readapt, recreate a different way, and so forth and so on. So there is chaos. But then, as we see also in general in the world, but as we know very well in Buddhism, only very, very few can become enlightened, which means that they have transcended all that. They have transcended the chaotic nature and became perfect, as we call them. A fully enlightened being in Buddhism, we call them a perfect being. So, and again, it's a question of proportions or ratio, as we see again in human life, in human society, in this world, and in general in the universe. Things become more and more chaotic, more and more complicated, more and more weird or nonsensical. And also, as a deeper teaching in Buddhism, there is what we call those periods. There's different periods that makes also, everything works by cycles, right? And that relates to the audio video that I made, as I was happy to have discovered that there is what they call the torus equation, the torus. Right? And that is basically what definitely the person who came up with that was definitely smart and had understood a lot. That is what rules everything, and as far as evolution in general, at every scale again, and all the cycles, everything goes by cycles. The problem again for the scientists is that those cycles work also with infinity. So it goes from no beginning in the infinity to no end in the infinity, and also from the infinitely small to the infinitely big. And compared to that torus equation, and as the Buddha had figured 2,500 years ago, maybe the greatest scientist of all time, because only through meditation, introspection, he had figured all those principles that modern scientists still have struggled to figure, yet they mention the same things. So it was said that, with the torus, as I explained in the torus video, we have 4 periods like that. And there is a period of, let's say right now, it has expanded so much into the most complicated and the most nonsensical. So we call it expanded period. Then it cannot become more complicated or more infinitely big, if you can say than that. Then things will start to envelop. And then it's called an enveloping period. So things will start to condense again and to come together again. And then it will reach a point which we call the enveloped period, where everything will become so condensed, infinitely small, infinitely dense, infinitely condensed, and that's what a black hole is, where at the end nothing vibrates anymore. And then from there, there's a point where it cannot be condensed more than that. Then it will start to expand again, and it will become what we call a developing period. So from developing to developed to enveloping to enveloped. But we are also putting it the factor of infinity there. That's where it becomes a bit tricky. But that's still what happens at every scale, at every level, in every plane, as micro as macro. And it's just an infinity of cycles after cycles after cycles, like that way, at every scale. So the smaller cycles make the bigger cycle. And again, I mentioned that actually to my physics teacher at university once, and I got the typical narrow-minded, knows-it-all, arrogant answer. Yes, of course, other people have tried to figure that one out or prove that one, but no, it doesn't lead anywhere. It is different between the structure of an atom and the solar system Yet, what I know now is exactly that I was right with my intuition at the time, which is everything works the same way. And that's why it's all part of a cycle, and everything is part of creating the other part at a bigger scale. So micro cycles of this torus equation of phenomena keep cycling and cycling around, creating a bigger cycle for things being created at another scale. And those slightly bigger cycles made of the microcycles, they also keep on going on as cycles, creating another bigger cycles. And it's all like that. And it's like that infinitely. And that's what the universe is about. And there's no beginning and no end. That's just all there is. But there's all kind of things happening as far as phenomena, all kinds, in a chaotic order. Some laws of universal laws apply, so they keep kind of working together, always in the same pattern, in the same ways, in some way within the same framework. Yet everything at the small scale can be different, and that's the same with humans. Basically, humans are humans, yet individuals are individuals. And the same in that case with the universal law of karma, because that's what goes with dependent origination, cause and consequences, chain reaction, cause and consequences, etc., etc. And the cycle gets again, because it starts from ignorance to the end, to, in Buddhism, what we know as far as craving for humans, we define it as craving attachments, craving clinging, then becoming and rebirth. So, in one way, most of humans are very proud to be unique. It's just that they have all accumulated so much karma over billions and trillions and billions of lives or existences. So it becomes kind of unique. Yet, at the end, you're just a human. And most humans work the same way. So this is what is a ordered chaos. It's ordered as human physiology in general works similarly. Rules, physiological rules apply, biochemical rules apply similarly to most humans. Yet every individual is kind of unique in that sense because of the accumulated chaotic karma over so many lives or existences. And that's why it's a big one to manage to reverse that and transcend it to become enlightened. But it's worth the try, of course, because then you enter a really different dimension and everything becomes clear, and then you reach the ultimate peace and harmony, exactly because you don't vibrate in a chaotic way anymore, as it has been all over and everywhere. And the world around you also is seen in a very different way. Then you have exactly that peace of mind, and instead of having or being as a human an emotional roller coaster, basically, then it becomes flat, which again many people complain about, that they don't want to get there. But it's of course because they don't know what true happiness is about and peace and harmony within is about, because that's what it is. When there's no chaotic waves anymore, or like a real roller coaster, but everything becomes flat, stable, at peace. It's pure peace and harmony. You have flattened the waves, no more vibration, no more waves. This is the ultimate. And there's nothing better than that, of course.